Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. What a day, what a week, what a change, and what a turnaround. Let me see if this is working. Thank you, Nick M, for coming. And I can't hear myself. I can't see myself. I just going to make sure this thing is working. Something's wrong today. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, it is working. Good. I might be on my own, but let's get into it. This is OCTA time, live TV as always, and let's talk about the crazy story today. This is called Treasuries are betting big. Literally, yesterday, so much crazy news that we'll break down today. But the point is, I've been talking about Treasuries for a long time. I've been in Bitcoin Treasuries since 2020. And now game theory is about to go on steroids. I want to shout out as well to our great moderators, and Cat with a K, and Sean D, and T&D Tesla, and K8, and everybody for being here. And right now, Bitcoin is about to breach 94K. It'll probably hit 94,000 on the stream. And remember, we were low 80s a few days ago, and even as low as 77 a couple of weeks ago. So things move fast as usual. And of course, not financial advice. And thank you as well to Matt Moss. Amazing day, amazing show. And happy I joined Patreon. Thank you for being part of the team. Now, we'll start with the ugly news, as always, to make sure we get the bad stuff out of the way and move on to the good stuff. So far, this is the usual unlock stuff. I don't dwell on it very much, but just in case somebody has some of it, a couple of names here. One is Tribal, 10% unlock. Optimism, that's the layer 2 on ETH. They've been unlocking 2% every week now for ages. Sui, 2.3% unlock. Remember the Sol 2% unlock people freaked out about for 6 months? Well, Sui has another one. Zeta, 6%. DYDX, 1%. Move, 2%. And Layer, whatever that is, 13%. Wonder, is that Icon Layer? I'm not sure. Anyway, I tend to focus on very few assets. And another little bit of ugly news. Google is trying to stay alive by screwing privacy. Shout out to Sanjay as well. Google has abandoned its plan to remove cookies from its Chrome web browser, giving a privacy-driven effort the company said that it was going to do. And this is also interesting because some nations, governments like the EU, etc., of course, push them away from tracking devices like cookies. But now, because of AI, Google is suffering. We called this a while ago too. Their advertising revenue is going to dwindle because people no longer go to Google to do stuff or research stuff. There's other alternatives called AI. And that is, they're a little bit, I don't know why. Google were kind of first to the party, but never really pulled the trigger and executed very well. And now the result is here. So I expect this one not to do too much over the next couple of years, unless they revolutionize things. Anyhow, the bad news. Let's get into some bad news. First of all, a little bit of realized price analysis here for Bitcoin. We've got a lot of on-chain stuff to go to. This talks, I don't know if this is bad news or not, but it shows from Axel that at the 96K level, there could be some final resistance from the cohort holding coins for the last 3 to 6 months, and after which, clear skies straight to 100,000. But this is a nice chart, and it shows you exactly what's going on, because there's also confluence with this Glassnode chart, a pocket at 97K that talks about there is some supply overhead for Bitcoin to reclaim its 100K. And this looks at another version of cost basis distribution, and it shows you a dense cluster at 97,000, where investors hold some 392,000 Bitcoin in a short-term manner, and they may sell at break even. So between the 97K from Glassnode and the 96K from CryptoQuant, they both tell you the same thing. We have to get through, say, 96, 97K before we get above 100K again. And given some of the news that I'll share today, that should not be too hard. Let's talk more about what's coming. Sol liquidations. Sol made a huge move. Sol was in double digits. It was below 100 a couple of weeks ago. Now it's above 150. Risk happens fast, as we've been talking about as well on DCA for a couple of weeks. Sol is the first mover to recover after Bitcoin, but it got hammered down from nearly $300 all the way down to double digits. So that was one hell of a downturn, but all alts did get smashed. but it's recovering fast. We also have some crazy news to share on Solana too in a minute. Market also, people were wondering why there was a bit of a dip in the market. I did say we might hit 94K in the stream. We're $60 away. Anyway, the Secretary Bessent was talking on CNBC, and the market took a dip because he said a full trade deal with China may take 2 or 3 years. And people didn't like that news, and market dipped, and then it recovered almost 30 minutes later. So there we are. And speaking of tariff news, and shout out to Sanjay as well on this one. This is kind of an interesting theory here. But the question is, how can the US survive? And this is a cool chart of the biggest economies in the world. Again, it's still in the bad news category, ladies and gentlemen. But you can see China is the biggest economy in the world at 37 trillion, US 29 trillion, and India 16 trillion, but India is growing very fast at a 10% clip. And then after that, you have Russia 6.9 trillion, Japan 6.5, Germany 6 trillion, and Brazil 4.7 trillion. France 4 trillion, UK 4 trillion. But the point here is, how can the US and even the Western world survive? And one theory could be, it's a wild theory, but maybe India plus USA can restrict Chinese domination in global economy and perhaps also geostrategic military power. We shall see. The green, if you add up all the green together, it doesn't even add up to the US, which is kind of bizarre. Anyhow, we also have the BRICS challenges, but a lot of the world now is thinking with a geopolitical lens as to how we survive going forward, rather than China running away with everything. And that's really what all of this is about. And this is why we had a great buying spree over the last month or 6 weeks. Anyhow, moving on. Time for the good news. Yes, good news. Crypto over the last 7 days up. In fact, a couple of things really smoked Bitcoin. This is everything versus Bitcoin. Solana up over 20% versus Bitcoin. Same with SUI. ETH even had a little bit of a charge back, up 12% versus Bitcoin. And you can see Bitcoin had a good week too, up to 92.6, which is now out of date. And this is only taken a few minutes ago. Now it's 93.9. So Bitcoin has shot up $1,300 literally in a very short window of time. That's how fast things move. We'll explain why things are moving. And yes, it's still Bitcoin season. Bitcoin is still the winning asset compared to the top 50 altcoins. And we've seen that for quite some time. And in terms of narrative time, for the last month, Bitcoin ecosystem has been the top performer. DPIN is number 2. And DPIN, of course, people go mad when I say this, it runs on Solana. So yeah, things are really coming back, and this could trigger one hell of a season. And as we said before, we were 90% sure, 95% sure the bull market was not over, and it does not seem so at all, especially with the absolute liquidity pump that's happening right now too. Now, fear and greed is back at 72. We went from under 20 to 72 again in a couple of weeks. That's how fast this moves. People are getting greedy again, and there's lots of other indicators that show exactly that. Wait till you see these next charts. First of all, April turns positive, up 9%. A week ago, it was basically flat. So we are up for the month. And when you look at the seasonality this time around, it is very much off this year. Historically, April, the month we're in, is the second best month for Bitcoin. So it's good to see us turning positive, and that was expected. But we still have a long way to go. And who knows, the last 7 days in April could be bonkers, ladies and gentlemen. So strap in. And last week I did share this chart too. And this is a very prescient chart from James Check on Chain. He's been on the channel. And he talked about the air pocket getting backfilled. And boy, did it get backfilled. And that was basically from 86K up to 93K. And he was right on point. So shout out to James Check. And follow the whales. The whales have been stacking greater than 1,000 Bitcoin. In fact, the 100 Bitcoin to 1,000 Bitcoin also have been stacking very hard. Watch what the whales do. They know what's up. They are way ahead of the ETFs buying. They are way ahead of retail. But we do have another surprise for retail. And then last week, everybody was freaking out about the death cross of Bitcoin. And as I said, most of the time after a death cross, Bitcoin goes up. And what did it do? It went up. So, and again, everybody, be careful what you read on Twitter. It's like just looking at Twitter over the last 24 hours. It's as if it's become all psyops right now. Everybody is wrong and everybody is negative. So just be careful if that is your source of information now. Be careful who you follow, okay? And ETFs were down last week. We had another macro scare in the world, and that drove the sale of a lot of the ETFs, which also the stock market took a big hit too. We saw, I think midweek, it triggered $140 million, $150 million worth of outflows due to some fears, but that has turned around very, very quickly. I'll say again, risk happens fast. The ETFs flip extremely positive this week. We had $1 billion day pretty much yesterday. The day before, 400 million. Day before that, 100 million. And that April 10th, 150 million out was because of a fear. All right. We had a macro shock. ETF sold off 150 million in one day. And then a week later, $1 billion comes in. Okay. So the fear, as we've been talking about, was at a max. We sold off very quickly, as we also said. And that also leads to a typical V-shaped recovery. When you sell off quick, you recover quick. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And ETFs, therefore, had their highest flow since January 2025. It's hard to see the little green parallel line on the chart here, but a big spike. The money is coming back. And I believe it will continue to come back because of what I'm about to tell you too. Flows by assets. Let's break this down a little bit. We saw some crazy numbers. ETH did struggle a lot, recording an additional 27 million out last week. And over the past 8 weeks, ETH drained nearly $800 million. Despite this, it's still hanging in there. And Sol was positive, Cardano was positive, and XRP was up big. Very interesting. When you see short Bitcoin going negative, that's actually a bullish sign. That means people are taking off their shorts on Bitcoin. So pretty good. And this is another cool chart. I'll hide my face. Maybe I shut it down here. Yeah. This is just a cool little chart. Again, shout out to Sanjay too. It talks about perspective of assets in the world. And we've seen gold go on a rampage. It's up like 26% year to date or something like that. And it's doing pretty well. But because of the increase in market cap for gold, well, let's look at this first of all. You can't even see Bitcoin. It's too small. Okay. And then you see the gold market cap there. Let me try figure out the color of the gold market cap. That's obviously gold, $25 trillion market cap. Now, what's cool about this, why we care, number one, you cannot see Bitcoin. Okay, that's the fun part. Number two, even more fun, if gold reaches, if Bitcoin reaches gold parity, okay, that means the price per Bitcoin will be $1.2 million. $1.2 million. And gold parity is just, as many people believe, a small step on Bitcoin's monetization path, or you could call it demonetization of currencies, as gold is a significantly flawed asset compared to Bitcoin. Very flawed. Try sell it. Try buy it. Try buy something with it. Again, very, very difficult to do. The other things here you see, real estate, bonds, fiat currency, all at about 900 trillion, all are low-hanging fruit for Bitcoin to cannibalize. Okay, they will capture value from. The bond market's already toast. Why would you buy something that the underpinning asset is melting ice cubes called fiat? Makes no sense. You can see how big bond market is here. So when people talk about Bitcoin going to $1 million, all it needs to do is just get gold parity. Forget cannibalizing any of the rest of the global wealth that's out there. So that, I think, is very exciting. Also, top 50 over the last 30 days. You can see a couple of cool things happened here in the crypto world. Let me see. Is a Sui, Tau, Kaspa, Render, Solana, all, etc., Tron, all beating Bitcoin for the last 30 days. This could be the first sign that the alts are coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Render's up there too. despite the little unlock they have. The unlock they have is extremely insignificant at 0.1%. So that's where the top 50 cryptos are over the last 30 days. And back to Bitcoin, another really neat chart. For the first time in a long time, you can see here, this is Glassnode's supply. It maps, it shows you the strong activity by cohort. And a couple of things from this is you can see clearly April was extremely strong for first-time Bitcoin buyers. Other things you can see there, the RSI stayed above 50 all month, hit 100 last week, still elevated, and it shows you there is fresh capital, and there's a little bit of FOMO, and there's new market entrants coming in too. So nothing but goodness for Bitcoin. When everybody thought it was dead a month ago, no, bull market's still on. Bluegrass Stoic, thank you for coming. And another crazy bullish statistic. When you see open interest spike at this level, it has not done this in years, everybody. Over the past 3 days, positions totaling about 57,000 Bitcoin were opened in the futures market. That's $5.5 billion worth. This is the largest liquidity increase in the last more than 12 months, as far as I can recall. Okay, when open interest comes in, that means the speculators are here and they are betting big on a big move up in prices. Again, the Bitcoin bull run is not over. A lot of people sitting on the sidelines, a lot of people with 80% cash, a lot of people terrified. Again, after these market dips, that's when you buy. That's not when you sit on cash. This shows you the speculators are back, and they are back big. Also, speaking of speculation being back big, this is another one here from Axel Adler. And let me try to read his tweet, zoom in a bit. He said, the first green spike, an indication that the market has reached peak growth velocity. The price is rising faster than the average entry price of all holders, creating a speculative premium. This is good to see. Now, when the speculative premium comes back, guess what else comes back? The hedge funds come into the ETFs and they do the carry trade. So expect a lot of ETF buying as well to happen. And as you notice, everything happens in cycles, up and down, up and down. Play the cycles. Everything is a cycle in the markets. Also, the other crazy news that happened from the Bitcoin historian, and we'll spend a little bit of time on this. And I spoke a lot about people like Besant and Lutnick over the past couple of months, that these are the people really making a lot of the tariff decisions, the trade decisions, the Treasury decisions, and Bitcoin SBR decisions. But now, Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick, has a new company, and they want to stockpile Bitcoin, and they want to compete with MicroStrategy. Remember, the one thing I'm going to zoom out for this, very important to know, MicroStrategy has pretty much bought up 3 years of issuance in the last 6 or 8 months. 3 years of Bitcoin issuance. One player has bought it all. Now we have another player that is huge and extremely well connected to Wall Street that wants to compete with MicroStrategy, the first mover that has 530,000 Bitcoin right now. That's a big ask, but that's what's coming, and that is fun. They're looking to immediately come out and buy $3 billion of Bitcoin. What's crazy about this is the players that he has lined up. As I mentioned, he's very, very well connected. You can see Tether, SoftBank, Jack Mollers will launch a company called 21 through a Bitcoin native company. And this is from a business combination with Cantor Equity Partners. You'll see that stock called CEP. It's rocking today, spiking on this news too. Again, but remember, SPACs are very risky. They're not exactly transparent. But even more crazy, Tether have nearly 100,000 Bitcoin, maybe more at this stage. And Jack Mollers, OG in the Bitcoin space with Strike, he will become CEO of this new company called 21. Obviously, 21 is the number of Bitcoin. They should call it 15 because there'll never be 21 million Bitcoin because so many are lost. Anyway, a little bit more on that. Why they believe they could be very competitive with MicroStrategy is they believe they are a pure play Bitcoin exposure. I would argue MicroStrategy is too. They have Bitcoin native operations. Perhaps. They have existing debt balance. Yeah, they do. I checked their balance sheet. They have debt collateralization. That could be interesting. Insider ownership. I don't know if that's good or bad. And purpose-built KPIs. I think this chart is a little bit of a stretch. I'd love to see Michael Saylor's take on it, but I do know that Michael Saylor has had meetings with Howard Lutnick, and why not? This is the one time where you have all the players in Bitcoin. Everybody is on each other's side because everybody wants number go up. So there's no competition per se. If you are, it's all about getting in early. That's the magic of the game theory of Bitcoin. And that's why I said at the beginning of this video, game theory could go into high gear with another player like 21. And forget everybody else around the world and all the treasury stacking. It's a bonkers time to be alive. So watch this space carefully. Also, Solana is now generating 222% more than ETH and BNB combined. That is crazy. Who would have ever thought but the flipping of ETH would happen in the first place? But not just that. Now the flipping of the ETH and Binance and doing 2.22x more than both combined. It is kind of special. We do have that Bitcoin or the Solana black hole and the Bitcoin black hole. And we have other Solana news too. And I would like to stress something here. You hear a lot of talk of treasuries. I talk about treasuries all the time. But you never hear of Cardano strategies or ETH strategies or XRP strategies or XRP treasuries or ETH treasuries or Cardano treasuries. There's only two flavors, okay? Two flavors, Solana and Bitcoin. There's a reason for that. And Sol Strategies, the ticker CYFRF, is based out of Canada. The Canadians do amazing things. So shout out to all the Canadians in the office here, in the audience here. They have filed to raise $500 million to buy Solana, and that's what they do. Also, they have secured this convertible note and partners, and they work with companies like Neptune, etc. And they will be closing this in layers and using the money to buy Solana. Another crazy news too, other strategies, I call them Sol strategies, Sol treasury firms, whatever you want to call them. You got Jour that spiked a week or two ago on their purchase, aggressive stacking of about 42 million into Solana. All of this stacking by this one player, Jour, probably drove the price from $98 up to 150. We also had Galaxy sell a huge ton of ETH and flip it directly in a pair trade into Sol too. Then you got Sol Strategies not only buying a ton, having 190,000 Sol, but also having $500 million more to buy more. Neptune Digital has a bag of Sol Upexi and Sol Global Investments also stacking. Again, see the pattern here. This is early. You got Bitcoin treasury companies and now Sol treasury companies. So let's move on with the story. Stocks for a little bit here. Stock Fear and Greed is 27. This is lagging crypto. Crypto moves much faster, but it's also perking up. The stock Fear and Greed is at 8, which is the lowest I've ever seen in a very long time. But it's also coming back up. I'd say next week it'll probably be neutral, maybe even higher. Again, the bottom is in. Stocks last 7 days, kind of flat. NVIDIA took a little bit of a hit because of fear of tariffs and China and the banning of their chips, H2O chips. But everything else is kind of holding up and ready to rebound fast as we go forward. There was a big Tesla earnings call yesterday. We had over a 4-hour stream regarding that. Just covered a lot of things. And half the world is totally confused by the earnings call. But those that have the foresight and can imagine the future that's coming real fast in June, they get it. Okay? Those that are focused on car numbers and earnings per share do not get it. Okay? Everybody, it's going to be my new rule du jour. It's called imagine it. When you invest, you have to imagine the future, and you have to imagine it before anybody else does and get it right. If you can do that, you can make a lot of money in the markets, okay? And it's probably one of the most important skills you can have out there. But a key part of the earnings call yesterday was Elon Musk. He hinted at 5-second production per vehicle, and the Cybercab is optimized for that with the unbox process. They'll be rolling off the line every 5 seconds. We've already seen the castings for exactly these things. Hello, Chicago 312. I know that town very well. The Model Y, currently it takes 33 seconds to make one. If ever you go to the Gigafactory or watch Shanghai, these things just roll out like really fast. But 33 seconds versus 5 seconds is going to be insane. This thing is going to scale, and this shows you the pivot to autonomy. This car does not have a steering wheel or pedals. Okay, it's built autonomous from the ground up. And FSD, a lot of people still don't believe it's real. It's real. That's all I use. I don't drive anymore. This shows you the crazy number of cumulative miles driven on version 12X and beyond in red. The blue is the older versions, which I've also had all the way through for the last, how many years? 6 years on my X. But what's crazy about this is now there's accumulation of over 3.6 billion miles in FSD supervised as of the end of March, up from about 2.8 billion, I think, at the end of December. That's an average of 9 million miles per day. If you imagine the average user does, say, 10 miles on FSD per day, that's 900,000 cars in the US running FSD. It's nearly a million. Or it could be 450,000 cars doing 20 miles a day, etc., etc. Either way, the ramp is going exponential, and the product is incredible. I will be using it today. And Optimus, this is a good observation from both Jeff Lutz and Cern Basher on the call yesterday. It looks like the Optimus, which there will be a legion of these, they're beefing up the arms, the actuators in the forearms. Remember, your hand is driven by your forearm, not by the power in your fingers. And they are replicating how a human operates, because at the end of the day, a humanoid has to be as dexterous as a human with their fingers to be able to work in earth factories, etc., coffee shops, you name it. Anyway, that is coming, and this is a new look and feel for this Optimus, and they are building thousands of them as we speak. Finishing now. I think I'm completely dehydrated today for some reason. Saifedean, meme du jour. This is, although it's a meme, it's not really a meme. It's actually a very serious note. And his work is incredible. His book is incredible. But it said, American houses did not magically become 6x more valuable over the last decade or 15 years or whatever it was. American money became 6x less valuable. This is why we Bitcoin. This is all about debasement. This is all about understanding hard assets, and you divide them by the growth in M2 money supply. A lot of money chasing few goods, and then you get your answer. This is why we Bitcoin. Okay? Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Thank you all for coming. All these videos are turned into Substacks. Thank you to the team that do all that for us every single day. And you can get a recap. I threw out one myself yesterday. It's free for anybody to see. It's basically all the notes, 57 nuggets from the investor meeting that you may have missed. Hope you like the video, and got people in everywhere. Spain, Netherlands, Canada, Ireland, Germany, USA, LA. Thank you all for coming, everybody. Have a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, by the way, Octa is normally on Tuesday. I didn't even realize it was Wednesday. I didn't do Octa yesterday because it was the earnings call for Tesla. And Tesla, by the way, we didn't hit 94,000 yet. But what else is going on in the market? Tesla's up $19, not bad. Solana's up 151 and hanging in there. Bitcoin just shy of 94,000. The market's still very much alive, ladies and gentlemen. Don't give up hope. Have a good night. Bye-bye.